today we're going over my top 10 comics / manga / graphic novels. We're talking about books with pictures today, and my top 10 favourite of all time! Now, a quick little side note, I'm only including books here that I have read all the way through. So anything that is about to finish, like Absolute Martian Manhunter, or anything I'm partway reading through, like Shade the Changing Man. Those two books would probably get onto this top 10, but Absolute Martian Manhunter still has an issue that hasn't come out, and Shade the Changing Man, I only started reading recently and about 2/3 of the way through, but oh my god, you should check that out. It's one of my favourite things I have ever read. It is amazing. Anyway, let's get into the top 10. For number 10, we're going Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja. Look at that. In this book, we follow Hawkeye and his young apprentice, Kate Bishop. Plot-wise, although Kate has her own plot, the main Hawkeye plot consists of him basically defending this one building. You think Daredevil had it small with just Hell's Kitchen? No, Hawkeye has one building that he reclaims from the tracksuit mafia, and he's got to defend it from them. Not only is the story great, the artwork is superb, and the paneling, oh my god, the paneling is so creative. There's these moments in the book where Hawkeye loses his hearing, and so they start communicating in sign language. And so they draw out all the signs and the sign language in the book. And there's certain issues that just follow his dog around as well. And the paneling of everything is really interesting. I kept finding myself completely taken aback. There's also the occasional weird issue, like this one, where it's like an animated kids show, and Hawkeye is this dog. And it's really interesting. It's really weird. What you'll learn about me across my videos is that if something is good, that's one thing. If it's good and weird, it's amazing. I love anything that gets a bit funkier, it gets a bit weirder, it gets a bit fresh. And so this book, one of my all-time favourites. Highly recommend you check it out if you haven't read it already. Next. What have we got here? It's Only Green Lantern by Jeff Johns. This book is incredibly thick, and not only is it thick, this is just the first volume. There's two more right behind me, and then there's also the two books of Green Lantern Corps by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, which I think companion so well with this. If budget is of no concern to you, I'd highly recommend just picking all of these up and reading them together. There's a bit of crossover, but it works so well. It just works so well. Anyway, let's talk about this. Believe it or not, as a child, I loved the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. So when I got into comics, because of my already heightened interest and connection to Green Lantern, I thought I may as well pick this one up. And side note, look at how beautiful that cover is beneath the dust jacket. This is also available in Compendium as well, for those on a budget. But this era of Green Lantern is what got me into the Green Lantern comics, and I have now read more Green Lantern than anything else in my collection. This whole era, this whole mythos is so awesome. This is the run that starts introducing the other colours of the Corps, like the Red Lanterns, the Blue Lanterns, the Indigo Lanterns, the Violet Star Sapphires. If you played Lego Batman 3 as a kid, you run over a lot of the plot that's in this book, actually. I just have such fondness for this era, and I also have such fondness for all the stuff that came out of it. The Blackest Night event is amazing. I prefer the Sinestro Corps War event, which I believe happens in this first omnibus. And this is also an excellent jumping on point for anybody who has never read Green Lantern before. There's a bit of like weird lore stuff with Hal having to come back to life for a few issues, but then it gets right back into his origin, and then you're back with Hal Jordan alive. And it's an amazing book. It's an amazing era for Green Lantern. Number 8 is a classic. I'm sure you've heard of it before. All-Star Superman. And to sum this story up, it's basically Superman gets cancer. That's basically what happens. He gets cancer, and then he starts going around trying to set everything in place for when he eventually passes. As it was one of our first proper comic reads, there was some stuff that confused me a bit. In comics, a lot of the time you get characters that maybe you've never heard of before, and they just show up like they've already been established. That does happen in this book. And obviously at that point, you do get used to it as a comic reader. You get really used to it. Frank Quitely's art is so stylized and so stunning. I struggle to put the words together to express how much I love this book. There's like an inherent feeling this book gives you when you read it that it's hard to describe, and so I recommend you just pick it up. The writing's amazing, the artwork's amazing, it's won a million awards, it's been talked about a million times. I don't need to go on about it anymore. Number 7, Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky. This is the run that got me into comics. I watched the Netflix Daredevil show and I loved it so much that I just had to read some Daredevil. And so I got the Marvel Unlimited app and I looked at the most recent run and it was this one. And I read it digitally. I later picked up this omnibus. And it is just one of my favourite runs. Marco Cicchetto's artwork is absolutely stunning. This run is nothing short of phenomenal. To be honest, almost all Daredevil runs are phenomenal. There's other runs that maybe, if I was talking in a purely technical sense, I would put over this run. Frank Miller's run is an all-timer. Bendis' run is an all-timer. Even Mark Waid's run I love for the sort of change of pace for the character. But this run really stands out to me as a run that got me into comics, got me into Daredevil. And the heavy first arc of this run is incredible. And I don't really want to spoil it because it's a bit of a reveal. But let's just say that Daredevil gets accused of killing someone in a brawl. He has to cope with that. There's a bit of a mystery of like, was he framed or did this actually just happen by accident? Which, let's be honest, if you're going around hitting someone in the head every night, you don't know if they've got like a random brain tumor or something and that one hit is going to kill them. So that sort of story and bringing those questions into it really impressed me, because as someone who hadn't read comics before, that was something I always thought about when I watched like a Daredevil or something. It's like, how does he know that he isn't just going to kill them with one punch? It happens all the time to people where they get in a random fight and they kill someone, and it's really horrific. But why wouldn't that also happen to a superhero that hits people really hard? And so for one of my first comics to pick up, and it's tackling questions like that, it was really interesting to me. It immediately dispelled the rumour of any kind that comics were for kids. It also immediately dispelled the rumour that comics weren't intelligent or weren't smart. One more thing, I guess this is a spoiler, but I guess skip forward 20 seconds if you don't want to hear it. Elektra does become Daredevil in this run. Some people talk a bit of shit about Elektra becoming Daredevil. I don't get it. I think it is a genius decision. I think it was an amazing decision. I love Elektra as Daredevil. I really wish Elektra just took over as Daredevil for a full run. I think that Erica Schultz was doing good stuff in miniseries, but she never got the ongoing. She got to do like 10 issues. There's so much more to do with her, and we should be doing more with her. Next, we're going with Mr. Miracle by Tom King and art by Mitch Gerads. This is the first book that I read pretty much all the way through in one night, and it's also the first book that I read that made me cry. Mr. Miracle is the ultimate escape artist, so much so that he even tries to escape death. This story does contain very, very heavy topics, and the first issue of this starts with him attempting to not live anymore. But this book is a really beautiful book. I love Mr. Miracle's relationship with Big Barda, and the artwork by Mitch Gerads is stunning. This made me fall in love with Mr. Miracle and the whole Fourth World. If you look behind me, I've got a whole Fourth World shelf right now. There is something so beautiful about the depiction of trauma in this book. I've never related to a character in a book more, and it's not even that his struggle or Mr. Miracle's struggle is anything like mine. It's more just in the way it represents the struggle and the anxiety and the stress and the images flashing back. There is nothing that has captured those feelings that I've had like this book. They're making it into a TV show, which I am a little bit concerned about. I just think it would have to be very different to be in a TV show format. I think there's a lot of stuff that this uses the comic medium for really well. Forgot to take the dust jacket off. Look at that. Kid Scott-Free, adopted by Darkseid, and Mr. Miracle over there. He's literally me, guys. It's me. Next, we've got Silver Surfer by Dan Slott and Michael and Laura Allred. This is amazing. This is such a fun book for a number of reasons. Number one, it's basically a little space adventure of the week. Every issue is Silver Surfer going on another quirky space adventure. It's very fun. It's very readable. There's a love interest, if I remember correctly, her name is Dawn Greenwood, and it's really fun. And so the heaviness of the book actually really tends to sneak up on you because, spoiler, it actually gets really sad. It gets really tragic. the end of it is really beautiful in a way. Along the way, there's a lot of issues that do really experimental stuff with paneling. There's an issue where the top half of the issue is going one way and then the bottom half is going the other way, and it creates this big loop. And it was one of the first things I saw like that really impressed me. Also, the art of Michael Allred is something that has really... Oh, this is the issue that I was talking about with it being on one side and the other. But the art of Michael Allred is stunning. I love his artwork so much. I really love heavily stylized artwork. I've been seeing a lot of discourse online lately about some comic fans seem to just not like stuff that is a bit different, a bit strange, and I do not understand that at all. The more different, the better. I think it's so interesting, and it gives each series a distinct tone, and I absolutely love this book. I love the artists, and I haven't actually read much of Dan Slott since then, even though I've heard he's got quite a few good runs under his belt, so I need to give more of good old Slott a read. That didn't sound right. Number 4, we have DC, The New Frontier by Darwin Cook. This is one of those books that I just think anybody who's vaguely interested in the DC universe should have. It's really interesting. It's sort of a post-World War II period piece about the rise of the Silver Age heroes. And one of the best things about this book is that you get introduced to so many characters. If people have asked me before, what's a good origin for Green Lantern? This one. What's a good origin for Martian Manhunter? This one. What's a good origin for Flash? This one. Let's have a look under the dust jacket. Darwin Cook's art style is absolutely timeless. I think the artwork is so good. You can even get it in compact comic, so there's no excuse. You need to pick it up if you've not got it. Darwin Cook is an absolute legend. I was really disappointed when I finished reading this and I found out, well, I went to Google more Darwin Cook books and I found out that he'd passed away. It is an absolute shame because the more of his stuff I read, Batman Ego is amazing. I've been really wanting to read his run for The Spirit. It's just a shame because he really is one of my favourite writers and artists, and I would love to have read more. Number 3, we're going with a manga, Goodbye Eri, the only manga on this list. And I'll admit, I haven't read as many manga as I have comics. I was reading manga before I read comics. I read a few. I read Bleach. I read Death Note. I read Berserk. Well, I'm still reading Berserk. I'm partway through it. But Goodbye Eri is by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who is also the creator of Chainsaw Man, which I've been watching. But then I read this book. This is a self-contained sort of little graphic novel by Tatsuki Fujimoto. A little short story called Goodbye Eri. And it is beautiful. It is stunning. Not only is the artwork stunning, but the story, it goes on about a young filmmaker who takes a bunch of home videos of his mum that was dying, and he uses it to make a film, and he shows it to the school. And then as his mum's about to pass, he's about to walk into the hospital in like the last bit of the film, and instead he decides to walk away and the hospital explodes behind him. And then all the students burst out laughing, and I'm like, why would you end it like that? That is absurd. Why are you doing that? And obviously nobody understood his artistic intention. It was almost good. It was almost good. And it's such a good commentary on someone who, as I'm someone who does create things. I do short films. I have a comic coming out. It's not officially announced, but perhaps stay subscribed to the channel, and perhaps there's an announcement soon of a comic that I worked on. Anyway, this is a beautiful story about this classmate then comes up to this guy and is like, I liked your film, or maybe not I liked your film, but I saw it could have been good. I'm going to make you make a good film. And then there's weird stuff that gets revealed about her, but it's such a beautiful story and commentary on like perceived reality versus real reality. and the interpretation of art, and whether we should care if an audience is interpreting it wrong, or whether we should strive to make something that an audience would love, and who do we make things for. And there's just so much that this makes me think about. And Fujimoto is one of those that is such an insane creative, but he is a creative that I resonate with so deeply. And it kind of scares me a bit because he's a very strange guy. But highly recommend this book. I can't recommend this book enough. If you only read one manga in your life, let it be this one. For the number 2 spot, we're going It's Lonely at the Centre of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood and published by Image Comics. Now, there is so much I can say about this book. This book is about 6 months of Zoe Thorogood's life, where she was sort of doing this comic to record what was happening during her life in that time. So it's essentially like a bit of a diary, but it's about her anxiety, her depressions, and it is so honest. This is why I say it's like a diary, because it's so honest. It feels like you're reading a diary. It talks about mental health and anxiety and depression and imposter syndrome and all those things, and it represents it in such visually interesting ways. And there are bits that are so honestly funny, and there's bits of it that are so honestly tragic. It is one of my favourite things I have ever read. I am so lucky to have gotten a little signature and a little doodle in my book. It was very awkward interaction. I didn't really know how to interact with them. It was my first ever comic convention, so I was like, can you sign my thing? And they were like, yeah. But this is a really beautiful book. It's a really open and it's a really honest book. It's the kind of book that is really hard to put out there. If I ever wrote anything like this, I'd be like, oh, but my mum's gonna read it. You know what I mean? And that's not a dig on the quality of the book at all. It's just such heavy topics, you know. Put yourself so open and out there. I can really skip to a random page, and it is just insane stuff, and it's just done so well. And then there's use of colour sometimes, but not always. It sort of breaks a lot of the rules of comics as well, in a way that just works so seamlessly. It is so bizarre, it's so well done, it is beautiful. I struggle to see how I could read very many books better than this, but there's still number 1 to go. Mr. Beast! And the final book, Starman by James Robinson. I think a lot of the art's by Tony Harris. Starman is a superhero lineage. So it started with the original Starman at Ted Knight, and where this book kicks off, he has just passed the mantle down to his son, David Knight. However, on his first night of patrol, David Knight dies. And it is up to the reluctant younger brother, Jack Knight, to take up the mantle and reluctantly become this hero. Now, that sounds a bit generic. Why is this number 1? This is number 1 because really this is a story about a father and a son, and their relationship is so well told. Every character in this feels so real, and the main character is totally flawed, so is the dad, and their relationship is so beautiful. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a bit ugly. They do such a good job in this book of showing the underlying sort of respect without ever saying it outright. And I think that's, unfortunately, is how a lot of father-son relationships really play out. And in addition, this book is about legacy. Yes, Jack Knight has the previous Starman sort of leading into his legacy, but also the whole JSA, that was all part of a team. He sort of by association is related to this JSA as well. And so he's now in this superhero world where his dad's got all these connections, and he can go to the care home of Wesley Dodds' Sandman. And he was a fan of that guy as a kid, and he gets to help him on like a final case. And talking about legacy, the legacy also spans into the future. We still see versions of Starman from the future, how the legacy lives on for hundreds and thousands of years. It is so interesting. I've never seen a book so well place somebody in the middle of the DC universe and make the DC universe seem so expansive. I think a lot of books, when you read them, the universe feels so small around that character, and then occasionally, you know, Superman will show up and it'll be like, oh yeah, the rest of the world exists. Not in this book. This book focuses on the fact that the world is so expansive and it goes off in every direction. There's a lineage before, there's a lineage after, there's a lineage to the side with the JSA, there's a lineage of the villain, the Shade, who has been around for so long and he's going through or Solomon Grundy shows up. There's a lineage to Solomon Grundy. It is one of the best books at encapsulating such a wide era of history and how it works together, and it's just flawless. Truly one of the greatest books I've ever read, and especially with it being such a long run, it's such a journey. It is a beautiful journey. There's actually 10 issues left of it that I haven't read. There was the Shade miniseries in the second compendium. I haven't read it yet because I've not wanted this to end. I reckon you should pick it up. And that's it. That's my top 10 books. I will have another video out next week. I'm going to have a video out every week. Some of them will be like this, where I just talk through stuff. Some of them will be like the last video and awful. In the meantime, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, follow the TikTok. The TikTok I put out daily comic recommendations. I do also do that on YouTube, but they're a bit delayed. Have a nice rest of your day. I hope you read some comics.